Let's start off from the August House, where members of Parliament has approved the calendar for their first session. And our senior parliamentary reporter, Patrick Amimo, now joins us with details of how that calendar really looks like that has been approved there by the legislators. Patrick, a very good afternoon to you. Just take us through how the calendar for these legislators look, the one that they have just approved.
Good afternoon, Akisa. What is happening is that members have already in the National Assembly have approved their calendar for this first session, which runs up to 12 February next year. And according to it, this particular Thursday after the sitting, members will take 11 days break up to and resume sittings on 10th October. And after that, they'll have only 4 sittings, that's between 10th and 12th October. After that, again, they will take 25 days break, that is from October 13th to 6th November, where they'll have their 25 days break. And this, I think, is meant to assist them participate in the campaigns for the presidential election, which election has been ordered by, has been put by the IBC for October 26th. After that, then they will resume on 7th November and run up to 7th November and run up to 7th December. That is our cumulative of 20 sittings. After that, then members will take a break from 8th December to 12th February next year, when they'll take that will be a long recess for them, and only to resume on the 13th of February next year. So that is how the timetable looks at. Prior to that, members also in the National Assembly had approved names of 4 members to serve in the Speaker's panel, and also we expect maybe any time, maybe this afternoon or tomorrow, Parliament to also members of the National Assembly to discuss budgetary allocations. The parliamentary estimates already, Cabinet Secretary for Treasury has already put several proposals before the House, and key among them is that there is that provision for the fresh presidential election, which budget is estimated to cost. That is 9.6 billion shillings has been set aside for the presidential rerun. We also have in those estimates at least 24.2 billion shillings to cater for the free day secondary education. And also there is another provision of 4.2 billion shillings. This one will be for enhancing security operations. I think this money will go to the police and security agencies to monitor the election process and in the run-up to the campaign and the election process. And also 2.2 billion shillings has been set aside for drought mitigation. And maybe now joining me is the member of Parliament for Tharaka Nithi MP, Gitonga Murugara. Just I've seen that already in the timetable. I see you only have maybe only 4 days or 4 sittings before you can go before you can have our elections in October 26th. Maybe Kenyans are asking maybe why this long period.
First and foremost, we have a break of about 11 days. This is to enable us to go back to the constituencies and do a bit of work there, because we have been in Nairobi since we were elected. Then after that, we have another recess whereby we have to go and participate in the presidential re-election. We have to go, we have to campaign, we have to organize, we have to ensure that the elections are held in a very peaceful atmosphere, and we have also to campaign for our candidates.
People might be asking, maybe you will have at least set your eyes on legislative agenda and not maybe spend a lot of time out there campaigning.
Part of it is we've already done quite a bit, and there is a lot to be done after we resume. But honestly, we have also to go back to the constituencies and we have to work. We are also politicians. We have a right to participate in what is going on in the country from the political angle. Therefore, because we are from Jubilee and Jubilee-affiliated parties, the rest of us are from the NASA coalition, we have to go and render support to our presidential candidates.
Looking at it, IBC already in the supplementary estimates already have seen IBC has been allocated 9.6 billion shillings. Do you think this is enough for the presidential rerun?
In my own estimation, I think it is. I think it is because there isn't a lot to be done. This is not a general election. This is just an election of one position, the presidential. And if this money is managed properly, it will be sufficient for that purpose.
Looking at it also, there is this talk about maybe members of the Jubilee side trying to amend the election laws. And people are also maybe why they hurry to amend these election laws when they were just passed in the House recently through a negotiated agreement between through the Joint Select Committee between the Senate and the National Assembly in the 11th Parliament.
There has been no intimation whatsoever from the Jubilee side to amend the laws. And if there has been anything like that, these are suggestions. People are entitled to their own opinion. Possibly there are loopholes which were found by the Supreme Court, which loopholes extend to our statutes, and therefore we may be called upon to relook at the statutes and, where necessary, effect the necessary amendments for the betterment of the electoral process in Kenya.
And maybe lastly, as you go out there to maybe also to campaign during this particular recess, there is concern about the political talk. Maybe some politicians, whatever they talk, their talk is heightening tension across the country. How would you want to see leaders behave out there, even during rallies or in the political campaigns?
It is absolutely incumbent on us to behave honorably, to conduct ourselves with the decorum, so that when we go out there, we should preach peace. We should campaign in a very peaceful manner. We should encourage our constituents, Kenyans, to vote in a peaceful manner. We should absolutely avoid abuses. We should avoid insults. No one whatsoever has any right to abuse the other person, to insult the other person. And this is why we are saying, where you go against the law, let the law take its own course against you.
Thank you. That is Honorable Murugara, the MP for Tharaka Nithi. And joining me again is also the Senator for Kitui, Enoch Wambua. Just looking at it already, we've seen already this particular talk. I think also the Senator will also be discussing the calendar for this particular session. I don't know, how do you see it going about?
Thank you very much, Patrick. I think it's quite in order for both houses of parliament to discuss their own calendars of events. And you know that in the new constitution, both the National Assembly and the Senate have a mandate to run their own calendars, independent of executive control. So it's in order for us to discuss our own calendars and decide when we're going on recess. Because, as my colleague has just said, as legislators, we have a lot of roles. We have roles to play here. We have roles to play on the ground. So there's need for us to take a break and go and meet our people and explain to them, especially those of us who come from NASA regions, explain to them exactly what went wrong.
Looking at it also, there is already the provision for at least to run the presidential rerun, which is costing at least 9.6 billion shillings, and already that money has been approved by the cabinet, but now awaiting approval by the National Assembly. Do you think this money is adequate to run these particular elections?
I don't even want to go to a discussion as to whether this money is enough or not enough. What I want to say is that what Kenyans have been treated to so far is a monologue. Debate taking place in Parliament, National Assembly and the Senate from one side of the political divide without participation from the other side of the political divide. This country belongs to all of us. And for this debate to hold water, all of us must participate in any debate that touches on national issues.
Looking at it, we are heading toward this particular election, and NASA has also set aside irreducible minimums before they can participate in this poll. What is your view on these irreducible minimums? Also, because we see the Jubilee side is also digging in with their own demands.
You know, one of the things that Jubilee is digging in on is it's an awkward situation, an awkward position that they are taking. They're even contemplating amending election laws and the constitution to fit this presidential election. I tell you, my brother, I want to tell this country that you cannot change rules in the middle of a game. That one you cannot do. Secondly, what they are trying to do is not actually change laws or amend the constitution, is to bastardize the Kenyan law. Because you cannot just change the law to suit a presidential election simply because you have issues with how this election was conducted and how the results were transmitted. You cannot do that. The best thing to do is to look at the NASA irreducible minimums. And one of the things that bothers me is that Jubilee has now reduced itself to be apologists for IEBC. I thought Jubilee and NASA, we were in competition and IEBC was supposed to be the referee. So every time we raise issues to IEBC, instead of getting responses from IEBC, we are getting responses from Jubilee. So this is unacceptable. We will not allow this, and we will make it known to everyone that we will not be part to change of the laws to suit the presidential election.
Looking at the budget, there is this proposal, at least now, the government wants to at least extend 24.5 billion shillings to benefit free day secondary education. And I think this has been a pull and push between NASA and Jubilee, because according to Jubilee, they do indicate that this particular money is part of their strategy, that it benefits those secondary school students. NASA was also having the same idea that maybe particular such monies would start this particular third term. Your take on it?
I have not looked at that bill yet, and I don't want to comment on it before I look at it. I want to have the benefit of looking at what exactly they are proposing, then I'll be able to comment on it properly.
And looking at it also, the security operations, something already those are the figures that the CS for National Treasury table, and is already set aside 4.2 billion shillings just for the enhancement of security operation during this election period. Is this money worth it, or it's you think,
it's not worth it? It's not worth it. And if you ask me, the definition for Jubilee of security operations is purchase of water cannons, more tear gas canisters. That to me is not an investment in security. The real investment in security is to build capacity of our police officers, our security officers, to be able to serve everybody in this country, irrespective of political party affiliation. So 4.2 billion, if you ask me, it's another way of another country to get money into the campaign. That's what they are trying to do.
Thank you so much. That is Kitui Senator Enoch Wambua, just trying to share with us a few views about the parliamentary process here with regard to the elections and the budgetary estimates, and also maybe how we should Kenyans should conduct their campaigns out there. Which campaign or IBC has already ordered for that repeat of that poll on October 26th, the date which also is raising some tensions. It's not been agreed between NASA and Jubilee. NASA has said that they will not accept that October 26th date, because according to them, that date was proposed by Safran Mofo, a company they want out of this particular election, because they claim some of its staff were used to participate in the irregularities and illegalities that were cited by the Supreme Court of Kenya. And also they do indicate that a part of this particular date also appears to fall on President Uhuru Kenyatta's birthday. So it is a date that has not been agreed. We expect when IBC meets those stakeholders, both Jubilee and NASA, if they will attend that particular meeting, then we might get some white smoke out of that particular meeting and see whether the elections in the country will be held on that October 26th. Akisa?
Patrick Amimo, our senior parliamentary reporter, there joining us live from Parliament.